It's Tuesday, going into week 7, and two star receivers have just been traded into the AFC East. Let's discuss it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back into the Bears Den NFL podcast with the Chicago Bears First Focus. I'm your host, Alex, and today we've got some big news. Couple trades going on in the league, both between our two Monday Night Football teams that played last night, the Jets and the Bills. Big trades, and I'm going to get into those moves in just a second, but I also wanted to just kind of say really quick that the Bears-Commanders game in Week 8 has been flexed to 3:25. That was originally scheduled for a noon game, but because of the hype around the first and second overall picks and Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, the NFL has moved that game to a prime 3:25 slot, and I would assume that would be the game of the week, right? Like the Fox game of the week or whatever. I'm not quite sure who's hosting it yet, but that's going to be a really exciting game and a really, really fun game to watch. With that being said, I will start with the Bills trading for Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns. Look, this is an interesting trade, right? So they acquired Amari Cooper, with the Bills sending a 3rd and 7th round pick to Cleveland, and the Bills are getting Amari Cooper and a 2025 6th round pick, which belongs to Detroit. So a couple picks going back and forth. Obviously, Buffalo getting the big receiver. That was a big concern with the Bills going into this season, right? They lose Stephon Diggs. They don't really have a true wide receiver one. What's going to happen, right? Is Josh Allen going to be able to perform? And so far this season, he's looked quite decent, right? He's looked like one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And, you know, obviously Amari Cooper has had a really cool, a really solid career, right? He's been in the league since 2015, so he's been in the league a long time. Um, coming off a 1,250-yard season last year with the Browns, 2 straight 1,000-yard plus seasons. So he's been very productive in Cleveland, who hasn't really had the best quarterback play over the last couple of years, obviously with Deshaun Watson, right? My concern with this trade, right? And a couple media outlets have discussed this. I think they discussed it a couple weeks ago on First Things First. So I want to give them credit for some of this point. But they were alluding to the fact that perhaps Josh Allen was playing so well this year and playing such clean football because he didn't have a wide receiver one, right? Sometimes when you have a wide receiver one and a big name player like they did with Stephon Diggs, the quarterback feels an extra sense of pressure to kind of get him the ball. He has to get him the ball to keep him kind of relaxed and stop him from getting frustrated and so on and so forth, because we saw games where, he wasn't getting the ball and he would get upset in Buffalo. And we see this a lot with receivers all the time. We saw this with, I remember Antonio Brown throwing things and kicking over Gatorade things on the sideline because Ben Roethlisberger was missing him on open routes, and obviously Odell Beckham would get frustrated and things like that. So this is something that we see, right? But when you don't have an open receiver, or you don't have a number one receiver, excuse me, you're forced to just play football, right? You're forced to just throw it to the open guy. There's no special bias. There's no extra pressure to, oh man, I haven't thrown to Diggs in a while. I got to get him the ball, and things like that, right? So if I'm a Buffalo fan, obviously bringing in a receiver like Amari Cooper will really help us, bolster the offense, right? We're really going to help the Bills bolster the offense. It should bring in a lot of production, right? With that being said, I just would, be slightly concerned with the fact that, how is this going to affect the offense and how is this going to affect Josh Allen if it does in a negative way? But with that being said, obviously he was very productive early in his career with the Raiders. He was productive in Dallas. And, even with, like I said earlier, some mediocre quarterback play in Cleveland, he's been very productive as well. So I think it's a good trade. I think that, in the big picture, it should help the Bills, right? Because we all know who the big bad monster is in the AFC. It's Kansas City, right? So any weapons that you can get to kind of give yourself an edge or, help close that gap against Kansas City, you take that. And, the Bills have been one of the top contenders for the AFC for the past few years. And I think that this is overall probably a solid move for them. We'll see how it plays out, but I think that this will really kind of, help give them another step closer towards competing for that AFC title, right? We'll move over to the Jets trade with the Raiders for Davante Adams, and here we go again, right? So this one's interesting to me because the Jets are kind of a disaster right now, right? First off, Robert Saleh is the issue. They think he's the problem. We got to fire him. They play last night. They lose. Okay, so we're 0-1 with the interim coach, and we're 0-1 with Hackett not calling plays. And I'm not saying that Hackett should be calling the plays, but that happens. Now here we go again. Aaron Rodgers is bringing in another friend, Davante Adams. I get it, right? These two have chemistry. It's something that can be plugged and played right away. Sunday, they can go out there. Davante Adams is going to know the majority of this offense. He's going to know all the terminology, the signals from Aaron Rodgers, and so on and so forth. So he can get in there. He can help benefit this team right away. But with this trade, which I guess I'll discuss the details really quick first. The Jets sent over a third-round pick, a conditional third-round pick, to the Las Vegas Raiders, and it becomes a second-round pick if Davante Adams becomes a first or second All-Pro this year, or he is on the active roster if the Jets make the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. So as of the way things look right now, I would say it's pretty likely that's going to stay a third-round pick, but who knows, right? But with that being said, this trade, Aaron Rodgers, a lot of the discussion, I was talking with Packers fans about this last year when I was at Lambeau for the Bears-Packers game. I was asking them about this, and the final couple years between Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers, there was a lot of favoritism. He was really locked in on getting Davante Adams the ball, and he would pass over open guys, and there was a lot of favoritism, right? He would just only throw to his guy. And I remember the stories when the young receivers were coming in. I think it was Lazard at the time, and maybe Christian Watson. The young guys were coming in, but he didn't really want to work with those guys. He didn't want to throw it to those guys because lack of trust, and maybe they would make some rookie mistakes and so on and so forth. So he would trust them. So he would refuse to throw them the ball, and he would only throw it to Davante Adams. So my concern with the Jets is, and my concern if I'm Garrett Wilson, right, who's one of the best young receivers in the league, is, oh man, like I might not really see the ball that often anymore, right? Is this going to be a thing where he's going to just pick Davante Adams every single time? Am I going to be wide open and he's going to just overlook me to get it to his friend, right? I think on paper it's a good trade. I think obviously Davante Adams is older in his career, but he's been one of the most dominant receivers in the league for a long time, and I think that he still has a lot of juice left in the tank. I think I believe that it's probably a good trade. The Jets need something, right? They've gone all in. They've gone all in. You fired the coach. You traded all this to get Aaron Rodgers in here. You got to win it all now, right? Because if this season goes to trash, if this season is wasted, if they miss the playoffs, everybody's gone. Everybody's fired. They're probably moving off of Aaron Rodgers and they're starting their rebuild, and that's it, right? So you got to go all in now. You got to do it now. So I get it. And Davante Adams really makes the most sense for that because, like I said, he can come in Sunday and he's ready to go pretty much, right? Assuming the hamstring injury is fine. I'm concerned with the favoritism. And this is what Aaron Rodgers does. He has his favorites. He picks his favorites. That's why Randall Cobb is in New York. That's why Alan Lazard is in New York. That's why his buddy Tim Boyle was in New York. That's why Nathaniel Hackett was brought in as the offensive coordinator. This is really Green Bay from 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And now it's in New York. So we'll see if it works. It wasn't working the tail end of, Rodgers' time in Green Bay. But the Jets, they don't really have a lot left to work with, right? It's now or never. They gotta get it done, and so that's where it is. So 2 big trades today, really interesting stuff. We will see. We'll see how they work out. If I had to pick which trade I think will work out better, I think Amari Cooper to Buffalo is probably going to work out better. I just think that this Jets team they're lost, and I think that they're poorly coached all the way around. And there was a lot of penalties in that game last night, and Aaron Rodgers just still is not really who he used to be, which makes sense for his age, right? But I think that the Amari Cooper trade is definitely going to be better, and I think it's going to help the Bills control the AFC East for the rest of the year and take that title. With that being said, I appreciate you guys listening as always. Um, I see the sub count going up. I appreciate you guys if you're subscribing. I see a lot of new viewers on this channel. If you're new here, subscribe. We're making videos every weekday, talking about different stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. I appreciate you hanging out in the den with me. As always, bear down, and we will see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.